Everyone has a story to tell. Welcome to DingoTalk, where we explore the experiences that make us who we are. Here's your host, Carlo Guadagnino.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is DingoTalk. My guest this week is a member of the ODAC, the head football coach at Bridgewater College, head coach Scott Lemn. Coach Lemn is going to talk to us about his career, going from Randolph-Macon and then being an assistant at Bridgewater for 11 years before getting the nod to being the head coach. We're going to talk to him about the quick turnaround, the 21 season, 4-6, the 22 season, 9-2. So we're going to talk about a bunch of different things with him, see where the state of the program is down there at Bridgewater. For those of you that are listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or wherever else you get your podcast, we appreciate it. Make sure you hit that little bell so you don't miss any of the episodes. If you're watching us on YouTube, appreciate you as well. Hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And make sure you follow us on all the social medias. That's TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. The only one that's different is the Instagram page. That's dingo_talk. But without further ado, this is Coach Lemn. What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. This is Dingo Talk. My guest this week is the head football coach of the Bridgewater Eagles of the ODAC, Coach Scott Lemn. Coach Lemn, thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Carlo. Thanks for having me. Excited to be on.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do this the way I do every week. I'm going to take you back to 2004, probably spring of 2003, I would assume. When did you decide that JMU was where you were going to go?
Yeah, actually, with that topic, I did a year at Navy Prep. So in the spring of 2003 or 4, I guess, I was finishing up my year there. The Naval, all the service academies have a prep school. Mm-hmm. I had just finished the Naval Academies, and that was the plan. That was the plan out of high school. I had signed with them, and for some academic reasons, had to go up to the prep school. And on being on this side of it, you learn they bring in about 30 guys to each, 30 guys direct, 30 guys to the prep school. And so I just finished that up and was back at home, had a few weeks off until plebe summer. And really towards the end of that year, my mind had started to shift and say I was at this place for the wrong reasons. Football was really the only choice that I was there for. And I was not enjoying football. And so about a month from now, while I was at plebe summer, I told my parents I didn't want to be there anymore. And they supported me, and I left. And so my journey to JMU was pretty unique. I was reaching back out to the coach who had recruited me, Kurt Newsom, the current head coach at Emory and Henry, mm-hmm. and then a high school teammate of mine that was on the roster then, who had been my recruiting host, and letting them know, hey, I'm looking for another stop. Still had some connections with the William and Mary staff, and so had reached out to them, and really William and Mary was a place I wanted to go. Unfortunately, I couldn't get in at the time. They weren't accepting any incoming freshman students anymore in July. So they had said, you need to wait around until the second semester. And, while my parents supported my decision to leave the Naval Academy, they did not support my decision to want to stay at home. And so they helped me to go up to JMU. And Coach Matthews was able to work with the admissions department, create a spot for me, and redshirted that year. It was a great year. We won the national title, really fantastic start, and then ended up just being a great place for me.
Well, and you start there with a national title, you finish up, you guys go to the you end up losing, but you go to the semifinals. That's a pretty big, you're in a system of winning right off the bat. Why the decision when you graduate? I guess let me rephrase how I asked this question. When you graduate with your sports marketing degree, what were you always going to coaching? Is that kind of why you went the sports marketing route, or was it
you still had the itch. You weren't ready to walk away from football and you wanted to continue to be in it that way. What led you into the coaching world?
Sure. No, the sports marketing was because I was an immature college kid, and JMU has a GPA standard for their business school. And so when it was time to apply for it, I didn't have the GPA. So it was as simple as that. And so, that was the next best route. They did have a sports marketing and business minor that you could go to without going into the College of Business. And, and so I thought, hey, sales or I grew up, my father is a contractor, and, thought, okay, maybe, there'd be an avenue for me to move into home building or something in the building realm. And my interest in coaching really started the summer of my junior year. Really going into my junior year, I was the only returning player that year, or the oldest returning player. We didn't have any seniors on the offensive line. And like so many places where the players stick around in the summer at the scholarship level, every Friday we would have football days. And my position coach at the time, Chris Malone, would leave us a drill sheet. And I would take our guys through it. And so really my desire to get into coaching started from that. And it started from, the time that I spent working to be a better player, the film room work, and I hate to say in those days, 2005, 2006, 2007, they don't seem far away, but they're drifting further and further as I'm seeing, the players I'm recruiting, that's the year they were born. But you had to go into the office to watch film. You had to, we were pretty cutting edge. We had a computer system back then. So it wasn't all DVDs when you went into the office. And so, between just as you progress, that first year starting, you're just trying to do your job as best as possible, but being a multi-year starter and really wanting to be somebody that people could lean on and have a good understanding of others' jobs and how you can help and how you can influence the game beyond just blocking. Whether it's, and I had a big responsibility in our offense, especially in 07 and 08. We were a silent count offense. And so the center called the cadence. Okay. I set all the protections. I set all the run game. I made all the protection checks. And so it was the studying part of that to be prepared on how to start to see safeties, how to notice blitzes, how to be prepared in that way, and then communicate. And then, like I said, working with my teammates throughout the summer and getting to see incremental improvements by them really, really gave me a strong desire to want to coach. And then my last semester, I got a chance to intern with our strength coach, Jim Durning. And that was, while I learned that the strength side of things was not my interest, he was just he's been such a great mentor and a great influence in my life. And I got to see just a man who connected with players, the way that he operated, the way that he challenged players. And I got to be a part of that. And so the combination of all those really helped push me into coaching.
And then, and I don't want to cause any problems, but you start your coaching career at Randolph-Macon, and now you're at the rival of Randolph-Macon, correct? That you guys are now that's a long-term rivalry.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's us, W&L, and Macon that have won the conference titles recently, and so I would say, hey, that's a game you circle each and every year.
Now, what was that first year going in? What was your first year like?
Yeah, Coach Aruza, I mean, at the time, they had just come off a unique situation in winning the conference and winning the ODAC. And there was a tie amongst a bunch of teams. And so the tiebreaker was the team who had been to the playoffs the least recently got to go. And so that's how they ended up winning the conference that year, that first title. And it was different. I mean, coming from scholarship football, so from some of the entitlement that comes with that, to having to dive in and work really hard right away. And actually it was a unique thing because, they play the game against Hampden-Sydney. It's a well-known game in Division III. And I actually interviewed at Hampden-Sydney and Randolph-Macon in back-to-back days in late July. And I had to hit the ground running. I mean, my first day, I think, was like August the 2nd. Players were coming, August the 8th or something. And so it was a full-on sprint, and it was a great year. There's a lot of things that I did that year with Coach Aruza that helped, I feel like, lay a great foundation in my coaching. And unfortunately at the time, my wife and I were getting married that year, and we were having trouble. She was having trouble finding a teaching job. I know that sounds odd now, but during the recession in 2009, 2010, it was really difficult. And so that was one of the things that made our move happen. Coach Clark had a position available and interviewed me, and I ended up getting it. And so I really made that move, not necessarily to get back to an area that I was familiar with, but more to help my not yet marriage get off to a great start.
Coach, where'd you meet your wife?
I met her at JMU, so she is much better looking than I am.
A lot of self-deprecating humor with you D3 coaches. As we've gone down this list, I've seen this play out a couple times. So now you're in Bridgewater. What was it about Coach Clark's teams that made Bridgewater so good? As I was going back through, there were some up years or some down years, but it's not, the down years aren't down years. I would say 500 or maybe just under. So what was it like before you moved into the head coaching spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach Clark really built an excellent program. You want me to start that over? You want to start this over? Can you hear my dog?
No, you're good.
Okay. Coach Clark he really built a great program. As you look at it, it hit right at the right time. One of the unique things about being an assistant at a place for so long and taking over for the person that established the program in the way that it is you get an appreciation for the history. And so Bridgewater was only a school of about 700 back then when Coach Clark came in the mid 90s, and Phil Stone, the president at the time, and Jim Benson, the vice president, they were two alumni that were running the school and had a goal to grow it. So that combination of two men in administration that really wanted to win, that's extremely important. And then the goal to grow the school, it became a great partnership. And then they found a unique calling at the time. They recruited Florida really hard. If you look back, a lot of the programs in Florida had not been created yet. USF, FAU. And so, they were getting players out that were probably men that could have walked onto those programs. And so that was able to help out in the talent they were able to bring in. And then, it began an emphasis really across the board in athletics there at Bridgewater of excellence. And, I've been able to take over and hopefully help to continue that.
Coach, how has your philosophy changed from, to the 2009 season when you start your coaching career to now?
Yeah, I think like anything else, as you mature, things that seem, small, minute, while still important, don't get you over the edge quite as much. I mean, I'd like to think I'm a pretty intense individual, but maybe I show that intensity in different ways now. I think that's important. But I think, at the end of the day, I've always been the kind of person that wants to work for players. And, I want to put the players in everything that I do, making sure that those men know that, hey, this is for you. And a lot of things they don't, but, and really guide myself around that idea that, the small things that I do that they may not see impact them in positive ways. And so I always want to be a man that's constantly doing things for the players. And that doesn't mean necessarily being a player's coach, letting them, specifically run the program, but I do think it is important to put those men in leadership positions and and have them really helping to guide the program as you're shepherding it.
Now, Coach, the 2021 season, probably not the way you wanted to start the head coaching career, but then right away, big turnaround. What changed between 2021 to 2022?
Yeah, I mean, the 2021 was so unique. We had the transition from Coach Clark to myself literally took 2 days. Obviously it was announced earlier. So during the spring of 21, I was doing a lot of things recruiting wise to where I was the one leading the charge there, but then, was still in my role as the offensive coordinator in our day-to-day. But then our players left right away too. And so while we were able to do some things via Zoom and, get our guys together, at the end of the day, we just kind of rolled right from spring into our summer break. And, the Division III level, our guys go, guys go, they go home, they get jobs, they get internships, they work, they have to balance working out. And so, you're not able to physically connect with them. And so, as they come back, you're trying to establish that culture, and it was there. We believe in being the ultimate teammate. That's something that was established, and I was alongside of it with Coach Clark. But you're just not with them kind of day to day. They're not seeing you in that role. And then we lost close games in 2021. I mean, we lost, just 2 brutal losses to Shenandoah and then Ferrum. Just really tight games and lost late. And in 2022, we didn't. We figured out ways to win those games. And so, I thought we had great leadership in 21. And in fact, starting off 3-0 and then going 6 losses in a row. I mean, that was really challenging, especially with the kind of losses that we had. And so, for our men to respond the way that they did and really want to continue to push themselves into the off season. We had a hard off season. I was able to be around the players in a different way than just being coach all the time. And because of the strength setup that we have, because of, just them stopping around in the off season. And so as we got into those tight games, we had guys, that where we were making critical mistakes in 21, we made critical, successful plays in 2022.
That makes sense. Coach, I noticed on your roster, we talked about some of the recruiting. There is a specific player I want to ask you about, kind of how we go about getting more players from. How do you find a guy from Australia?
Yeah, that's a unique one. So Ewan actually went to high school in Roanoke.
Okay.
And so that's the connection there. And so we were able to find a guy sorry, I'm having some computer difficulties. So we were able to find a guy through those connections, through those recruiting connections, and who wanted to stay in the States, who wanted to play college football, and we gave him an opportunity.
So, Coach, while we're on the recruitment question, what are you specifically looking for when you're out there or when you guys are out there recruiting? Obviously, this is a little later now into the recruiting for this year, but now I'm sure next year is already eyes on people. So what are you looking for someone that wants to be at Bridgewater?
Sure. I mean, number one, it starts with the film. We want to compete, and in the ODAC, we want to be able to compete for the ODAC championship each and every year. We're lucky enough starting in this year to have a playoff opportunity with the Landmark if you don't make the NCAA playoffs. To where the top 2 teams who don't make the playoffs from each conference will compete against one another. So if we miss out on the NCAA opportunity, we want to be in that game. In one of those games. And we'd like to be hosting it. The highest ranked team in that will host. So we'd like to be there. So it takes good players, from there. We do want measurables. I think those things are important. Now, it doesn't always have to be, the biggest or the fastest or the strongest or the tallest, but we do want to have the measurables to develop. If you're 6'2", but a little bit underweight, And, we find you'll be a guy that will buy into, what it takes to do those things between off-season conditioning, the kind of way you have to diet. As an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, we'll take a guy that might be, 6'2", but moves his feet really well, is really physical on film. And then academics is really important. I mean, I think for whether you're at a high academic school, and those are the things that are going to get you in, if you're at a school like ours to where, we recruit a lot of blue collar guys. And so for us, the higher the academics, the more affordable Bridgewater's investment can be for you and your family. And so for most of our players, they're able to pay less than what it is to go to a state school here in Virginia. And, Bridgewater's able to offer, a high value and get, a private school education at below a public school price. I think that's really important. And so, and the other side of it is it shows, that player's desire to want to succeed. And as we go through the recruiting process, our players' end goals are really important to me. I mean, I don't think that every man's going to know what he wants to do at 18, but I do want to have men that desire to lead people and desire to be successful once they leave college.
And Coach, what's the importance or the significance of the ODAC? So I want to preface that question. So I've had the OAC, I've had the PAC, we've had some Empire 8, we've had some MAC schools, we've had, at the time I thought they were a MAC school, and now they're over there in the Landmark Conference. What makes the ODAC great?
Yeah, I think the level of competition, if you're a competitor and you're around our area, it's the kind of league you want to be in, because in the fourth quarter, the plays you make matter to winning and losing. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that's one of the things that I've enjoyed, and it's the only place I've ever coached. I think it gives you a great breadth of the region here. And we've got players from North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, a couple from Pennsylvania. And I think that our competition is really good. I think that we recruit from really good areas. You look at a lot of the high level teams are still coming into the areas that we recruit and finding players out of that. And so I think that our speed is up there with other leagues that we've competed against. And so number one, though, is the competition. I mean, it is a league of good coaches. We've got good coaching all around. You've got to be able to bring your best each and every week. And from top to bottom, you really got to be ready to compete and compete hard through the entire game.
Coach, are you big on the on bulletin board material? Is there anything that, for you, like you said, you're very intense with and passionate. Is that something that you utilize throughout the season?
Yeah, more on not against our opponent. I mean, I think that I think we've got a respectful group of opponents. We're not out there searching social media necessarily to see what other teams might be saying, but I think more than anything, it's about the quality of our players' character. I mean, I do try to find things to help pump those guys up and find that internal motivation. I'm a big fan of Teddy Roosevelt's speech "Man in the Arena" and share that with the team each and every year. And want to be able to stand in that arena regardless of the outcome, and stand there and know that you've done your best and competed your hardest, and be willing to stand there again.
Coach, what's as a D1 football player yourself, what is the largest difference between Division I and Division III, Division II, fought in the trenches? I mean, is that really where it's noticeable, or is it across the board noticeable?
Yeah, I think in a variety of areas. I think I see it with our guys, the ones who stick around and train together all through the summer. That gives you an advantage, when you're able to train with your strength coach, and then the competition that just being around your teammates brings, as opposed to having to do it individually. Can guys do it? Absolutely. But do I think, as far as a formula, it's a great formula for sure. I think that that's one of the benefits that scholarship football has, is the more teammates can train around one another, the better. The other part is, I do think the measurables, you might find the linemen are going to be a little smaller. You look at the way that a guy at, a high-end FBS can eat on a daily basis versus ours can eat. For ours, our guys' classes aren't tailored to them. And so, it's not like we can say, okay, here's our practice schedule, here's our practice plans, fit this into the academic day. We've got to fit into the academic day. And so our men have to learn what life is like. I'm a father of 4 with a job that's demanding and takes a lot of hours and want to remain fit. Like, all right, you got to figure it out, find some time during the day and same thing. And we hope to schedule that in for our players. And then I do think, the speed is a little different. It's going to be, I think, you're naturally going to find that. But I would say this: the preparation, the desire to win, the things it takes in between the white lines are no different. And what it means to our men is no different than what it means to somebody lining up at Alabama or Clemson. And whether it's 500, 5,000, 50,000, those men want to win, and they've got a strong desire to do so.
Coach, what's the message for 2023 for the fans, the alumni of the Bridgewater Eagles?
Yeah, I think it's we're ready to compete again, and we can't wait to line up together. You're going to see a group of men that enjoy being around one another, enjoy competing together, really, and are going to be physical about how they do it when they're out there on the field. We're going to be an attacking style defense. We're going to be an attacking style of offense. Be prepared to see, big plays on both sides of the ball, and be prepared to see a disciplined team that comes out and has a great competition and a great competitor that they've got to challenge themselves against on September 2nd when we host Susquehanna.
All right, Coach, these 5 questions have nothing to do with football. One of them does, but the rest of them have nothing to do with football. They're just the questions to shake up the show. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Oh, man. I'm a beach guy, so it'd probably be without the hurricanes, probably down in Frisco, North Carolina.
Okay. What's the most important lesson you've learned over your career?
The thing that's said, the thing that goes unsaid sometimes is better than the thing that's said.
Can you explain?
Yeah, I think sometimes as coaches, we want to make sure that we're constantly the ones giving the feedback and giving the coaching point. And sometimes providing some silence and allowing the players to communicate with one another, kind of like the announcer in the big moment. Sometimes you watch a great game and you notice that announcers aren't talking as much as they are talking.
Makes sense. If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing and why?
Man, that's a tough one. I can tell you this: I tried to remodel part of my house. I don't have the construction bug, to the chagrin of my dad, who can repair just about anything. At this point, I think I'd try to be like a teacher, maybe, some sort of PE teacher. Mm-hmm. Even at the elementary school level, I love activity. I love being around, and the joy that competition comes with.
Best compliment you've ever received?
Man, that's a tough one. Having been somebody who's lost 100 pounds, it's always nice to hear, man, you look a lot thinner. That'd probably be it.
Best insult you've ever received?
That's probably not okay for this podcast, considering some of my teammates.
It's your show if you want to.
Yeah, I'd have to. Probably when I got married, that was one of the big jokes, but from my teammates is, I can't believe she said yes.
And we'll leave it at that. I like that. Coach, the last question I've asked everybody this season: was there a question you were expecting to get today? And if so, how would you have answered it?
Oh man, I tried to do some homework on you there, Carlo, and I watched a bunch of your podcasts, and so I was actually ready for this one. I think more than anything, it was maybe a question about Coach Clark. What was it like to work for him and work with him, and somebody who's so legendary in our conference. As of today, Coach Clark's the all-time winningest coach in ODAC history, and he's just been. And so the answer to that is he's just been such an important man in my life. I mean, when I started working for him, I was just married. When I took over for him, I was a father of 4 kids, and just in a different place. And people ask all the time, does Coach stop in? How often do you talk to him? What do you miss? And Coach and I had great football conversations. He's just so thoughtful about football and the way that he thinks about it from a scenario standpoint and a game planning and a clock management and so many details. You don't get to be as great as what he is without it. But there were so many other great conversations that we were able to have in his office just as men. And I really owe a lot of the man, outside of my own father and some influential coaches in my life. He was as much a coach, teacher, friend, and mentor as everything else involved into one. So I thought it would have been about Coach Clark.
Well, and I'm going to use this as one. I have it written down here that he was the winningest coach in the ODAC, and that how I was trying to figure out how I was going to work the question in. But as a shameless plug, Coach Clark, if you would like to stop by Dingo Talk, we have an open door policy for you and a couple of the other coaches. Coach Lemn, thank you very much for stopping by and talking with us. Best of luck this year in the 2023 season. For those of you sticking around, what comes up next. It's the editorial with Serenity Brown, where she points out the things I did wrong. And we try to figure out the 3 historical figures that she may or may not have thought about now that we're like a half a year into this. So, Coach, again, thank you very much for taking the time, and we will be right back.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? Welcome back to Overtime with Serenity Brown. That's Serenity Brown. I am Carlo Guadagnino. We just watched Coach Lemn with Bridgewater College. What'd you think?
It was an alright episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had a lot of good things to say. It was just not memorable not one of the more memorable ones for me.
Okay. What's interesting?
And that's no offense to him.
It's non-football person watching football people.
Yeah.
It's interesting. They will open the season at home on September 2nd against Susquehanna. We interviewed Susquehanna's head coach today. That episode will come out the week of their game between Bridgewater and Susquehanna. So, a lot of good things that happened for Coach Lemn and Bridgewater, especially the 2021 you go 4-6, you come back the next year 9-2. My dad also was the reason that we asked the question about their Australian player. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I've been really struggling with names in the recent. For those of you that are listening here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else you find your podcasts in general, please hit the little bell to keep up with all of our episodes. We really appreciate you being here. YouTube, good to see you. Stay along with us. Hit the like and subscribe button. And then follow us on the social medias. That's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. The only one that's different is the Instagram page. It's Dingo_Talk. And now, my favorite part of this segment, where I'm going to ask a random question and you're going to go look into the camera and go, ready? So you win the lottery tomorrow. It is for, I don't know, we'll say $5 million so that you still walk away with maybe $1 million after you pay your taxes. That's a whole nother thing. But so what are you doing? How are you handling that?
Easy.
Okay.
Paying down my debt, but leaving like a little bit on each one so that way I still make those payments. Build the credit.
Okay.
buying a house and a car, not a super big one, fancy, anything, just
A house.
a house to comfortably live, and probably putting a large sum of it into an Roth IRA. Right? I said that right. Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I did.
I would like to say that I have people for that, but that would just be because I've seen enough movies to know that's what I'm supposed to say. Because I don't. I can't. I don't know if I can. Well, that lady pointed out we can't balance a checkbook.
Oh my god.
No, go ahead. Continue. What else would you?
So that way we continue building.
And you would pay the taxes. You'd let them take the taxes immediately out of it. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't want to have to worry about that down the road when I go to file taxes later.
So let's say out of $5 million, you're walking away with like maybe 1.5, and I only use that number because recently the $1.some billion, and the guy walked away with like $400 million when it was all said and done after the taxes. So
higher the number, higher the taxes.
really hoping the roadways get addressed, infrastructure and such, but you know that would. You just got an $800-some million surplus. Maybe we use it. I don't. What do I know? I'm not a politician. It's not my job. With $1.5 million, I think what I would do is I would buy that town that I showed you in Colorado, and I would invite all my friends to come live there and work there, and we would become a tourist attraction in that state. Now, those friends I do have, and in that state, really good. Would probably be... But, yeah, I think I would probably car. Car would be a thing. I don't... If you're buying a house, and I guess, you know, I don't have to worry about buying the house, right? So I guess I get to pay for the stuff inside and the cool
We'd have a real nice wedding.
Yeah, we would. And then, because I thought it would be fun, I'm going to ask you the questions that we asked them.
No.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Somewhere warm. Because I hate the cold.
Because you're a reptile sometimes. Cold-blooded. Unless it's cold water and on a burn. What's the most important lesson that you have learned since graduating college? That's a good one. That's a good. I'm trying to think of mine, and I have so many life lessons.
Don't get so attached to things or people.
That came out real wrong.
It came out wrong.
If you weren't
I wasn't one. I wasn't one. Yes.
If you weren't editing DingoTalk right now, what would you be doing? Playing cards. I can answer that one.
Yeah.
Best compliment you've ever received?
I don't know. I feel like I answered that question on my episode, so you guys can go watch that.
Good plug. Hey, she's learning, folks, and that's all we ask for. Best insult you've ever given?
Also on that episode.
That's such a... Hey, I just had to keep in your toes. Through all of this, was there something you were expecting to be asked? And if so, how would you have answered it? All right, Chuckleheads. So we will see you next week. I believe we're either going south or we're going west. I haven't decided yet. We're either going to a school down in the beautiful state of Alabama, or we're going to Minnesota. I just haven't decided yet. So you guys will have to come back next week and find out where we went.
Yeah.
So, all right. See you next week.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Dingo Talk. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. For more info and to contact the show, you can find us on Twitter @DingoTalk.